Okay, let's unpack this. For you, the listener, maybe you're prepping for a meeting or trying to get your head around a complex field, or maybe you're just, insanely curious like us.
Right.
We are diving into a set of source materials today that, well, they really defy easy categorization.
They certainly do.
We're looking at extensive excerpts from this document. It's titled Ash Mufareh's Divine Ecosystem, a 100-minute inspiration.
And yeah, this is definitely not your standard corporate white paper or tech brief. Not at all.
No.
This narrative, it lays out a complete philosophical and spiritual roadmap for a global digital ecosystem, no less.
Yeah, and it frames the tech developments of the company on Passive not just as like business innovation, which you'd expect,
Sure.
but as a movement of profound, almost divine significance.
That's the core of it. It's
Yeah.
presented as something much bigger than just tech.
Exactly. So our mission today for you is to explore the specific, really detailed claims around the founder, Ash Mufareh, and the system he's building. This philosophy, it tries to merge really advanced technology. We're talking high-level AI automation here with concepts like, get this, spiritual alignment, divine justice, and even guaranteed global prosperity.
Yeah, the source material presents this roadmap for a digital revolution, but it reads less like a business plan
Much less.
and more like a prophecy of change.
It really does.
And what's just fascinating from an analysis perspective is this complete fusion. You've got cutting-edge tech development right alongside intensely spiritual, even divine language.
Constantly intertwined.
Right. So we need to synthesize what this actually means for the system's intended purpose, its operation. How is it supposed to work?
We have to analyze the narrative as it's presented, which frames this whole thing, this entire enterprise, as a kind of spiritual revolution where functionality meets faith.
Functionality meets faith. That sums it up well.
Okay, let's start right at the foundation then, because the source material, it doesn't really ease you in, does it?
No preamble, really.
It just jumps right in, establishing what it calls the dawn of a blessed revolution. And it roots this in a claim of, well, divine origin.
Exactly. The opening premise is crystal clear, and it immediately sets these extraordinarily high stakes. It defines the system's unique status right from the get-go.
How does it put it?
It states, quite explicitly, that a new ecosystem is being born not merely from innovation, but from divine inspiration.
Wow. Okay. So not just smart people coding.
Apparently not. And it's positioned not just as, an improvement on current digital platforms, but as a genuine movement of mercy and abundance.
Good.
And it's rooted in divine justice.
That is incredibly powerful language. I mean, it suggests the system's success isn't just about market forces or good engineering.
No, it implies it's preordained, guided by a higher power, essentially, which, of course, changes everything about how you'd evaluate it.
Right. And the source seems to be painting the current digital world, that's the status quo, as this environment of maybe systemic oppression.
It's definitely the subtext, or even the main text sometimes.
And this new ecosystem on Passive is positioned as the antidote, the solution to those failings.
Right, and the promise is pretty fundamental. The system is explicitly designed, it says, to work for the people, not against them.
Which sounds like a radical departure from systems often perceived, rightly or wrongly, as leveraging user data or capital mainly for, a few shareholders.
Precisely. The source promises that through this ecosystem, the oppressed will rise and the forgotten are seen. It claims equity is baked into the core structure from the start.
Okay, so if the source claims this divine origin, how does that connect to the founder, Ash Mufareh? The narrative is really insistent that the entire ecosystem carries his spiritual signature.
Yes, spiritual signature. And that phrase is critical, I think.
Why critical?
Because it suggests that the system's inherent structure, its code, its algorithms, its operational ethics, its whole mission are inseparable from the founder's personal spiritual state, his ethical intentions.
So the system's goodness, its benevolence, isn't just a policy choice they made.
Exactly. It's presented as an immutable characteristic, tied directly to its origin and the founder's spirit.
That's an astonishing level of personal integration into a tech platform.
Oh.
Far beyond standard corporate branding.
Oh, miles beyond. It implies Mufareh's vision isn't just a mission statement on a wall somewhere.
Right.
It's the actual governing code, the operating system, in a way.
Okay, if that's the case, let's dig into his leadership role. The source talks about this under the heading Leadership Guided by Grace. How does it actually define his position? Is he just a CEO?
Well, he's clearly portrayed as much, much more than a typical CEO or, a tech visionary in the usual sense.
How so?
The source describes him as a messenger of empowerment, specifically chosen, it says, to bridge the gap between what was and what must be.
A messenger chosen.
Yes, he's positioned as the conduit for this divine intervention into the digital world.
Oh.
And the core belief driving him, according to the narrative, is that his leadership is fueled by grace, not by greed, which, if true, completely reframes the motivation behind building a global tech empire.
Absolutely. And this spiritual motivation, it seems, fundamentally dictates how the system must operate. It's not enough for it to be profitable or efficient.
It has to be morally pure.
Right. The source gives these three clear operational principles, rules that govern the flow of wealth and power within the whole ecosystem. It's like a moral mandate for the technology itself.
Exactly. You've got those three pillars. First, wealth must flow through love, not fear.
Okay, what does that mean practically? Love, not fear, in transactions.
It suggests an economic model designed to eliminate, or at least minimize, things like cutthroat competition, scarcity mindsets, or anxiety as drivers for how people interact financially.
Interesting. What's the second one?
Second, power must serve, not dominate.
All right, that seems aimed at the usual centralization of power you see in big tech platforms.
I think so. It insists that any influence within the ecosystem has to be used for service, for helping others, not for control.
And the third.
Third, success must be shared, not hoarded.
Okay, that's a direct mandate for distributing the value generated, global distribution.
Yes, it's built into the philosophy.
So when you put those three principles together, wealth through love, power serving, success shared, you get to this point where the organization itself, on passive, is explicitly framed not as a business,
Right.
but as a global ministry of progress. Let's pause there for a second. A ministry. What are the actual functional consequences of a ministry running a massive digital ecosystem?
Well, the immediate consequence is that profit maximization, which is usually goal number one.
Of course.
It gets subordinated. It comes second to moral and societal advancement.
Yeah.
A ministry implies this duty of care, right?
Mm-hmm.
A focus on mission, in this case, global impact.
It's like missionary work, but with tech.
Kind of, yeah. And adherence to a higher ethical code that theoretically supersedes secular laws or competitive pressures.
So this terminology, ministry, it confirms the primary goal is transformation, spiritual, societal, and technology is just the tool.
Exactly. Technology is the medium, not the end in itself. The expectation, laid out in the source, is that the system's technical function is guided first and foremost by these moral parameters.
Mm-hmm.
Profit follows, perhaps, but it's not the driver.
Okay, moving beyond the leader and the organization. Let's look at the actual engine, the computational core of the system. The source calls this the blueprint of divine intelligence.
Yes.
And it makes this pretty incredible claim that the ecosystem is not just the product of human intellect, smart coders working hard.
Right. That's a huge claim. It says the system is guided by divine intelligence. And it defines this as a kind of wisdom that integrates heart, mind, and spirit into a single system.
Heart, mind, and spirit in code.
That's the implication. It suggests a systemic purity, a foresight far beyond conventional engineering. It sounds like a holistic approach to automation, one that factors in human spiritual needs, emotional needs, not just data efficiency.
So how does the source contrast this divine intelligence with more traditional tech thinking, like AI or machine learning as we usually understand them?
It creates a really powerful dichotomy. The source insists that the true goal is actual intelligence, which it defines as the intelligence of compassion.
The intelligence of compassion.
Yes, and it explicitly contrasts that with mere artificial intelligence.
So the system has to process information not just logically, like a standard AI?
But empathetically, with compassion.
Can you give an example of how that might work?
Well, maybe a financial algorithm guided by compassion might prioritize, say, the stability of the recipient in a transaction. Even if it slightly reduces the immediate yield to the originator, it would reinforce that principle we talked about. Power must serve.
That makes the system's operations sound almost teleological. Its purpose dictates its function.
That's a good way to put it.
And the effects of this divine guidance are supposedly, measurable in the digital interactions themselves. The source says every feature flows with a higher vibration, a reflection of love, fairness, and transparency.
And that's the translation, isn't it? From the spiritual concept into the technical reality. That higher vibration is the guarantee of purity. Meaning, the system is structurally incapable of malicious or unfair action. That's the claim, because its fundamental intelligence, its OS, if you will, is based on love and transparency.
So it's the ultimate reframing of automation. It's about achieving spiritual alignment through the function itself, not just getting things done efficiently.
Exactly. Efficiency serves the higher purpose.
Okay, so now we shift from the prophecy, the philosophy, to the practice. How does this, profound spiritual goal actually translate into system mechanics? Section 2 in the source gets into the operational philosophy under this theme of AI automation meets spiritual alignment.
Right. And the overarching goal here, as the source puts it, is creating a realm of balance, a place where systems serve humanity, not enslave it, which is a common fear about AI.
Sure is.
And to achieve that balance, it required this specific merger of opposites, AI automation with spiritual alignment.
So using the power of AI.
But keeping it tethered to this absolute moral guidance from the spiritual framework, that's the core operating premise described.
And the source material gets very specific about the kind of ethics needed for transactions. To maintain this balance, it mandates that the system has to reward a specific attitude. What was it? Contribution more than competition.
Yes, contribution over competition, which is, frankly, a radical economic proposition for a digital platform.
How would a system even enforce that?
That's the question. It implies a structural bias against zero-sum games or predatory competition, instead of incentivizing users to, outmaneuver each other for profit.
Which is common online?
Very common. The source posits that the architecture itself is designed to prioritize selfless actions or collaboration. It even claims the system rewards the giver as much as the receiver.
Rewards the giver as much as the receiver. That completely flips the traditional capitalist model, doesn't it?
It certainly seems to. It suggests that participation based on selfless contribution is somehow structurally prioritized within the code itself, making it financially beneficial, presumably, to act benevolently.
Wait a minute. If the whole system is designed to reward contribution, how does the source define failure or non-participation? Is there a penalty for behaving in the old competitive way, or is it just impossible to profit by hoarding?
The philosophy seems to suggest the latter, that the system's success relies on the collective, on that flow. So traditional hoarding or aggressive competition would actually result in systemic inefficiency. And the AI, being guided by this compassion principle, would then perhaps override that behavior or disincentivize it through its reward structure. The architecture itself acts as a kind of moral filter. And the source claims every digital interaction, every single login, every transaction carries the heartbeat of purpose.
The heartbeat of purpose.
Meaning the system is constantly monitoring and reinforcing these positive contribution-based behaviors, turning the ecosystem itself into a mechanism for practicing moral action.
Which leads us nicely into the distinction the source makes between, surface-level material gain getting rich and the deeper promise, what it calls the spiritual codes of abundance.
Yes, this is where the narrative really shifts the focus. It moves from simple financial success, which is definitely part of the promise.
Yeah, financial freedom is mentioned.
It is. It's presented as an expected outcome, the surface benefit. But the source makes it clear that the deeper gifts that come from using this system are freedom of time, purpose, and peace.
Okay, that's a crucial hierarchy there. Financial success is the means, not the end. It provides the stability needed to pursue what are positioned as the truly valuable assets: time and purpose.
Exactly. So the ecosystem is explicitly designed, it seems, to automate away the drudgery, the necessary tasks, and maybe create passive wealth generation.
Freeing up the user's mental energy, their physical resources to focus elsewhere.
Precisely. The system is designed not just to make you wealthy, but to make you whole. That's the implication. It aims to solve the material problem so you can address the spiritual one.
And when you look at the macro-level impact claimed, the ecosystem isn't just fixing finance or automating tasks. It's ultimately described as a system of restoration, revolution, and redemption.
Heavy words.
Very. It's designed, the source says, to restore integrity to digital life, revolutionize opportunity for everyone, and redeem the flawed economic and digital systems that have arguably failed large parts of humanity.
So it aims to provide these deep structural fixes to historical injustice and imbalance. That's the scale of the ambition here.
Right. Now, to stop this from sounding entirely conceptual, entirely theoretical,
Which it could easily do.
It could. The source actually provides specific examples of the technological components, the on-passive product suite. And it explains how these tools supposedly embody these divine intentions. This is where the lofty spiritual claims meet the functional tech.
Good idea to ground it.
Let's try and ground these products first in their sort of functional reality, what they do, before we analyze their claimed transformative purpose.
Absolutely. And the list of products, this O suite, as they seem to call it, are essentially modern, high-tech tools, things for automating and managing digital life. But crucially, they're supposedly infused with that divine intelligence we talked about.
Okay.
And the contrast between that functional definition,
Yeah.
what the tool is, and the spiritual mandate, what it's for, is probably the most fascinating part of this whole deep dive.
Agreed. Let's start with the products focused on transforming interaction and finance. The source mentions O-Wallet. Functionally, this sounds like their own digital wallet, a payment gateway solution.
Correct. That's the basic function. But the spiritual mandate attached to O-Wallet is profound. Its function isn't just processing payments.
Okay.
It's ensuring that transactions are pure and transparent.
Pure and transparent.
Yes. This is supposedly the tangible implementation of that spiritual signature of the founder we discussed. Integrity coded directly into the financial ledger. The system is engineered, the source implies, to prevent any opacity, any illicit transfers, making financial movement inherently trustworthy.
Okay, pure finance through O-Wallet. Next up, communication tools. They mention AdConnect. Functionally, this looks like the company's video conferencing platform, right? A competitor to Zoom or Teams.
Seems to be, yes, a platform for global communication. But again, the spiritual goal attached is incredibly ambitious. The source states that through O-Connect, communication becomes global harmony.
Global harmony. Through video calls.
Apparently. It's presented as an attempt to use digital interaction to actively foster connection, rather than division or misunderstanding.
So O-Connect must be, what, structurally designed somehow to promote empathetic, productive, unifying communication.
That's the implication, rejecting the polarization you often see on other digital platforms.
Mhm.
The source implies its features actively facilitate mutual understanding, though it doesn't detail exactly how.
Interesting. Okay, extending interaction into commerce, there's O-Shop. Functionally, their e-commerce and marketing platform, like a Shopify or Amazon Marketplace, perhaps.
That seems like the functional equivalent, yes.
Yeah.
But here, the transformation is that commerce turns into community.
Commerce turns into community.
Yeah. So the transaction isn't just an exchange of goods for money. It's repositioned as an opportunity to build communal bonds, shared purpose, reinforcing that principle of contribution over competition again.
So the platform would maybe prioritize ethical sellers or products that benefit the community?
That's the kind of thing it suggests, prioritizing communal benefit over sheer sales volume or profit maximization.
And finally, on a more personal connection level, O-Chat. Functionally, a messaging app, like WhatsApp or Signal.
It's like it. An instant communication tool. And the transformation claimed here is that connection becomes companionship.
Companionship, not just connection.
Right. It highlights a deeper qualitative change in how people relate within this ecosystem. Moving past just superficial connectivity, O-Chat is claimed to be a tool for building genuinely meaningful, supportive relationships.
Okay, so those four, O-Wallet, O-Connect, O-Shop, O-Chat, seem to cover the daily functional digital interactions, transforming mundane digital life into, supposedly, a virtuous cycle.
That's the picture painted, yes.
Now let's look at the other side of the coin. The components focus on systemic integrity, trust, and security, which are absolutely critical for any global digital ecosystem, let alone one with these kinds of claims.
Absolutely foundational. And that brings us to O-Virtual. Functionally, this sounds like it acts as some kind of network security and privacy tool, maybe a VPN or a secure tunnel solution.
Plausible.
Yeah.
But in the context of this divine ecosystem, the source claims security is transformed into serenity.
Serenity, not just security.
Right. Serenity. What does that mean? The user doesn't just feel secure, they are completely free of the anxiety that normally comes with digital threats.
That seems to be the idea. It implies a holistic defense mechanism, one so effective, so reliable, that the concern about breaches or surveillance just vanishes entirely.
So security isn't just about building walls.
It's about eliminating the root cause of fear itself, providing total peace of mind serenity through these advanced, supposedly compassionately designed security features.
That's a high bar. And related to that, there's O-Verify. Functionally, an authentication system, identity verification.
Yes, confirms who you are.
And if security leads to serenity, then authentication in this system must lead to truth. The source states that through O-Verify, trust becomes truth.
Trust becomes truth. What's the implication there?
The implication seems to be that the verification process is so intrinsically honest, so pure, backed by that divine intelligence concept, that it absolutely guarantees reliable information and identity. It eliminates fraud, impersonation, those fundamental barriers to trust in the current digital world. Okay, so if we look at this whole suite, this alignment of products, from O-Wallet's transparency to O-Verify's truth and O-Connect's harmony, it becomes clear that the overall claim is just massive.
It is. It's enormous. The overall claim, as the source summarizes it, is that this specific alignment of products, combined with their inherent divine intent, fundamentally changes how humanity interacts, earns, and evolves.
Interacts, earns, and evolves.
Yeah, it's presented as this closed-loop system, designed to enforce morality through its very functionality, essentially creating a perfect, self-policing, virtuous digital society. That's the vision.
Okay, let's scale up now. We move from the individual tools to the scale of the whole operation, the community structure, the expected global outcomes. The section in the source is anchored in the power of unity and shared blessings.
And the sheer scale of this vision, as presented, relies entirely on that concept of unity. It hinges on it.
How so?
The source emphasizes this guiding phrase that Mufareh apparently shares with his global community, his family. We are in it to win it.
Okay, sounds like a motivational slogan.
It does, but the narrative frames it differently.
Yeah.
It describes these words not just as a slogan, but as a prophecy.
A prophecy.
Yes.
Yeah.
A statement of destined collective victory. Not just hope, but certainty.
And that prophecy, that victory, is both on mobilizing this huge collective, right? The source talks about the ecosystem relying on unity and millions of, what's it called, them? Founders, affiliates, and believers.
Right. They aren't just positioned as customers or partners in a business sense.
No.
They are the global family. They are the collective engine that's supposed to drive this divine mandate forward.
And that philosophy, that family idea, it's enshrined in this principle of explicit connection between all members. What was the quote? Your success is my
Your joy is my joy.
Yeah.
Your breakthrough is our victory. Yes. And this is critical, I think.
Why?
Because it aims to remove individual striving, that lone wolf mentality, in favor of a synchronized collective uplift. It implies you can't truly succeed unless the whole community thrives along with you. It structurally links everyone's well-being together.
Okay. And the narrative then goes on to describe the fundamental mechanics of how people interact within this collective, moving beyond just money. It claims that gratitude is the currency and service is the language.
Which again reinforces that core idea.
Yeah.
The transactions are moral and spiritual first, material second.
How does gratitude as currency work?
It suggests the emotional acknowledgement of benefit, the appreciation, is prioritized. It's valued as much as, or maybe more than, the monetary exchange. And if service is the language, then utility, helping others, providing aid that becomes the primary mode of communication and interaction.
So it constantly reinforces the ministry goals we talked about, prioritizing contribution, compassion.
That seems to be the design philosophy, yes.
And as this collective grows, as it spreads globally, the source promises the global blessing unfolds. This shifts the focus from individual success within the group to these huge macro societal transformations.
Right, suggesting that things previously thought impossible will become inevitable, simply due to the ecosystem's spread and its unique operational mandate.
Does it get specific about these transformations?
It does. The document is very specific about the global impacts expected as the system takes hold. It essentially acts as a blueprint for reversing global socioeconomic inequality.
For example?
The source asserts that nations will feel its vibration, whatever that means, precisely. But more concretely, schools will be funded, communities will rise, charities will flourish, families will rebuild their legacies.
So a massive redistribution of wealth and resources.
Yeah.
Guided by the system's compassion-driven AI.
That's exactly what it suggests, a fundamental rebalancing.
And significantly, the founders themselves, the members, they aren't just passive beneficiaries here. They're positioned as active impact agents in this whole process.
Yes, exactly. They aren't just investing or using the tools. They're expected to create specific impact projects that actively heal humanity.
Heal humanity. Strong words again. Does it mention specific areas?
It does. The financial success generated by the ecosystem is designed to flow directly into these humanitarian efforts. The source specifically calls out core global needs: education, clean water, healthcare, and digital access.
So the founders become the instruments, the hands and feet through which this divine abundance flows out into the world, tackling real-world problems.
That's the model described, focusing on immediate, tangible aid funded by the system's success.
Okay, this level of engagement, this mission-driven approach, it brings us to what the source frames as the ultimate purpose. And it uses dramatic spiritual terms, the victory of faith and functionality.
The language is really striking here, isn't it? The ecosystem is described as engaging in spiritual warfare.
Spiritual warfare. Against what?
Against poverty, corruption, and limitation. It's viewed as this active force, using technology to systematically dismantle these huge global obstacles. Obstacles to integrity, hope, opportunity.
So it fights these abstract evils, poverty, corruption, with tangible, functional tools, like the O Verify for truth or O Wallet for transparency.
That's the connection it makes. The tools are the weapons in this spiritual war.
And the culmination of all this effort is this alignment of things that seem quite different. The source defines on passive as the exact point where faith meeting functionality, belief meeting brilliance, spirit meeting system.
It's presented as the perfect synthesis, the moment where that divine intelligence successfully manifests itself in the digital infrastructure. The system is the proof, according to the source, that technological complexity can be perfectly aligned with spiritual purity.
Which leads to the ultimate realization, as the source puts it, a complete reframing of technology itself.
Yes. The narrative asserts that technology, when guided by love and purpose, that's the crucial condition, becomes not a threat, not something to fear.
But a blessing from above.
A blessing from above, explicitly.
Which brings us finally to the source's concluding assertion about Mufareh himself. It talks about the eternal legacy. And the source is absolutely unequivocal. It states his legacy is eternal. Why? Because it lives on in the immense structural global impact he creates through the system.
And the very final word of the source material leaves zero ambiguity about the system's origin or its fundamental nature. It gives this definitive statement claiming, this ecosystem is not just on passive.
It is God's digital hand extended through one man's vision.
Exactly. That confirms the total, non-negotiable integration of the spiritual and the technological. The system is positioned as the physical manifestation of restoration, revolution, redemption, all on a global scale, achieved through this divine human partnership.
The source material is certainly compelling in its clarity, isn't it? Regarding the intent, the claimed outcome, it asserts that the global collective, humanity, will eventually look back and say, by the blessings of Mufareh, humanity found its balance, faith found its system, and the world found its new beginning.
A powerful closing statement for their narrative.
Okay, so to quickly synthesize what we've unpacked here for you today.
It's been quite a journey through this material.
It has. This source presents a truly unique narrative. Unlike almost anything else in the tech or business world, it's clearly not just about building a better set of AI tools or online platforms.
No, the ambition is far greater. It's about executing a total system redesign. We're talking societal, financial, and digital systems driven entirely by this single, coherent, divinely inspired philosophy. A philosophy of abundance, transparency, and grace.
Yeah, we've spent this deep dive covering those profound spiritual claims surrounding the technology, the mission of shared wealth, shared progress, and how the specific functional blessings, things like O Wallet, O Connect, O Verify, are supposed to actually implement this divine blueprint and lead to, well, global harmony. The scope of the vision is just breathtaking.
It really is. And the final conclusion of the narrative we looked at is perhaps the most telling. It asserts the entire ecosystem is the realization of Mufareh's prayer.
His prayer realized as a global tech platform, which raises, I think, a really important question for you, the listener, to carry forward, something to mull over. What are the consequences, the real-world implications, when a global digital infrastructure, one that relies on AI automation, on commerce tools, on financial systems, defines its very essence not by quarterly profits, not by market share.
Usual metrics.
The usual metrics, exactly. But instead defines itself by divine guidance and the stated goal of achieving universal love. What does it actually mean for technology to be sustained by faith, as this source claims? And how does that extreme level of commitment potentially redefine our entire understanding